Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Brandon Neese, aka Dr.Tones. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We're going to talk a lot about metal detecting today, and specifically I'm going to be answering a bunch of your questions from a Facebook thread that I created over the weekend. And there's a lot of great questions, so let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. Cody Holmes, funnest place I've ever detected and the best thing I've found, not including the 1901 S-bar recorder. England. England was the funnest because the history is just so rich. You never know what is going to come out of the ground, and you have to dig everything when you're there because, you know, things that would be tinfoil signals here in the U.S. are probably like thin hammered coins from the medieval ages over there, and so you have to dig everything. So definitely one of the funnest places. Ray Camp. So tell the world the truth. Who made you and the wife the gnarliest coin rings ever? That, my friend, would be Ray Camp. And thank you very much for that. I've been meaning, Ray, to give you that shout out for these rings for a long time. I hope this will suffice. If you guys don't know Ray, go to his Facebook right now. Look him up. Ray Camp, that's R-A-Y-C-A-M-P. And the guy is one of the best in the business when it comes to making rings out of the coins that you have found, or that you bought if you want to go that route. I personally had a 42 Walker turned into a ring that I wear, and the thing is Gnarls Barkley. It's awesome. I also had Ray make a ring for the wife, and this one is a 1902, I believe, Canadian large. So pretty thrilled with those. I love it. Ray, thank you so much. And again, I'm so sorry, brother, that it took me so long to give you a shout out for that. Oh, dude, I'm going to slaughter some last names today, too. Matt File. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm so sorry. How long did you have to wait for the items you found in England to come back to you from the antiquities people? I know you mentioned that somewhere. Also, could you explain the process to people who have not experienced that? I'm personally curious about it. So, the process for detecting in England. At the end of the day, you turn all of your finds into a guy called the coroner. No, it's not the person that collects dead bodies over there. It actually has something to do with their antiquities laws and the way that they collect things that people find. You turn your stuff into the coroner in a baggie that is labeled with the GPS coordinates of the land or the field that you found those items on. And the coroner then looks at those items and says, yeah, we got a bunch of that, not really important, or none of it meets the Treasure Act, so then they send it back to you, you get to keep it. If they find something in that bag that meets their treasure laws, which I believe, don't quote me on this, but it's something along the lines of if the item is over 300 years old, if the item has one or more gemstones, and if it's like half or more gold or something like that. You look it up. Antiquities laws, England. Or Treasure Act laws, excuse me. If your item meets any one of those very specific qualifications, they then send it to a group of appraisers who look it over and they try and figure out what the heck it is and how much it's worth, and if they want it in a museum or not. If they decide that they do want it in a museum, they buy it from you at full market value. You then split that amount 50-50 with the landowner that gave you permission to be there in the first place. Unless, of course, you own the land, then you get to keep it all. This is really cool because at the end of the day, if they buy it from you, not only do you get paid for it, but also your item then goes to some museum somewhere and is put in some display case with your name in front of it and credits you as finding that item, which is really cool. Bucket lister. Let's do that someday. Brent Harold. What are some lessons that I learned on my first times hunting gold in the wild, as in gold nuggets? Oh man, gold nuggets are hard. Hunting gold is probably the toughest metal detecting that I've experienced because you dig everything and you want to be as far away from human trash as possible. That way, when you do finally get a target, it is more likely to be gold. How do you find gold? Well, you go where it's been found before and you do research, which if you go where it's been found before, that means people were there finding it, and people leave behind garbage, and then you get into digging a bunch of garbage and hoping that one out of every 1,000 of those signals might be a tiny piece of gold. Super frustrating, long days. It's a lot of fun, though. Some of the most beautiful country that I've ever hunted in has been when I'm prospecting for gold. Bill Hines, list all the key date coins that I've found. Off the top of my head, I really haven't found a whole lot, I don't think. I always joke, though, I live in the Boise, Idaho area, which is kind of the trifecta, as I call it, for key dates, because we've got San Francisco to the west, we've got Denver to the south, and Philly to the east. We're right in the middle of all those. And so we've got all these key dates that kind of just circulated through and around us constantly. So we get some really, really good key dates around here. Ryan Essman wants to know if I am a boxer man or a brief man. No. Boxer briefs. I like the added support. And the moisture wicking. That was gross. Mike Aldrich asks, what was the most memorable moment in my life? Without a doubt, the birth of my son. Richard Acuna, best areas to detect within an hour of the Boise area. We live in a great spot, Richard. We really do. It's not old. It's not like East Coast stuff, but it's got cool history. You don't have to be old to have cool history. Stephen Bishop, what is your favorite research aid? Without a doubt, Stephen, this computer right here. Even more so lately, this phone. And here's why. I do 100% of my research is all on these devices, computer and or phone. I have been to the library this many times. I've been to the county assessor's office this many times. Basically, everything that I've ever done research-wise has been on my computer or my phone. I'm not saying that libraries aren't a gold mine. I'm sure they are, but I don't have time in my day as a working father, single income, wife and kid. I don't have that time to go running around those places. I barely have time enough to get out and go looking for things as it is. So I utilize my time most efficiently this way. Are there some gems to be found in the library and at the assessor's office? Probably, but what I've been doing has been working for me, and so that's just kind of a comfort zone. And maybe someday I'll have some time freed up and I'll be able to go and look into some other resources, but for right now, all digital, baby. Michael Heim, what was the greatest prank you've played on your detecting buddies while out? I don't know. We don't do a whole lot of pranks, really. Most of the stuff that we do is just pure stupidity that ends up being funny and we laugh about it later. A lot of stupid stuff going on out there. Kirk Cruz asks, on the East Coast, what was your favorite place to hunt? What type of area was it? Without a doubt, my favorite site back east was somewhere in and around Philadelphia. And it was a farm site, and we were with the Detect America crew, which, if you're not familiar with the Detect America guys, they do like an awesome radio web show. I don't even know, webisode. Detect America. Google it. I was with the Detect America guys, Frank and Drew, and it was just amazing. There were so many great finds that just kept coming out of that field, including, hang on. One of my favorite finds from that field, this guy right here. It's a 1693 William and Mary. And this is also my oldest coin dug in the U.S. So huge thanks to Frank and Drew for helping out with that. Guys are awesome. This is probably counterfeit, by the way, but we're not sure. How did I first get into treasure hunting and metal detecting, and what inspired my passion for history? I grew up in Placer County, California, which, if you're not familiar, is just outside of Sacramento, kind of down the hill from Auburn. It's gold country, the mecca of gold, like California gold rush country. And in 3rd or 4th grade, we took a field trip to Coloma and to Sutter's Mill, and we were learning about the gold rush in California and how important it was to our country and the migration of people west. And that's what sparked an interest in me in learning more about history and also about treasure hunting, because that same day we went down to the river and we panned for gold, and I had like little flakes of gold in my pan. And I went home and I said, Dad, did you know we have gold in our backyard? And he's like, yeah, me and your grandpa, we used to go dredging for that all the time. And so, the next weekend, Dad took me out to the creek and taught me how to gold pan and where to look and why. And ever since then, I always carried a gold pan with us on our family excursions, which were quite frequent because back in the day, my dad was actually an outfitter, and we used to pack people in to go hunting and fishing into the Sierra Nevada. And so plenty of places to look out there. Never should have moved away from that area. Anthony Brian Taylor, what's the best thing I've ever found? I have categories. I definitely have categories. I have, best silver coin, favorite find, oldest find, best nugget, best meteorite, etc. So I think basically all my favorites you've probably seen on the channel. Definitely without a doubt the O1S Barber Quarter because of its monetary value, which is important to me. I'm not going to lie. I love the history. I love the passion behind finding and hunting. But I also like to fund trips around the world with the things that I find because I wouldn't be able to afford to do that otherwise. So, when I find something that has a substantial value and I know that someone else is going to cherish it as much as I would and are willing to pay me that monetary value for it, it's yours, man. I'll use that money to go back to England. I'll go to Australia next time I find something like that. And because otherwise I'm not going to be able to travel and hunt these places that I want to go hunt. And it's just going to sit on a shelf in here and I'm going to look at it and say, I could be in Australia right now, or, oh, I could have gone back to England if I sold that. So, and also to help support my family, like sometimes, around Christmas especially and stuff like that, single income family, things get a little bit tight. So I start looking around at the year's totals and like, I could scrap that, or that's a semi-key date. Maybe I'll throw that on eBay and buy a Christmas present or something like that. In the end, man, we can't take any of this with us. It's history. It belongs somewhere there. I know there's a lot of people out there that really like to hang on to stuff. That's cool. If that's what you want to do with it, you found it. For me, pulling things out of the ground is like the thrill of the find and the hunt, that's more up my alley. Things that I'll remember forever. And I can always look at pictures. I don't have to hold an item. It doesn't do me any good to hold it. Diane, I know I'm going to slaughter your last name. Diane Pavone Schlofer? Schlofer. Sorry. What's your favorite place to treasure hunt? Asks Diane. My favorite place? My favorite place to hunt. I don't have one particular place, but I have favorite environments. And those favorite environments that I have are really, really secluded, out in the middle of nowhere. I like big, vast canyons where, hiking, four-wheel driving, kayaking, things like that you have to do in order to reach these sites. Those are my favorite places to hunt because when you walk there and you finally find this place, you know that you're going to be the first person that's set foot there since those people probably died there or walked away from the place 100 years plus ago. Those are my favorite places to hunt. Jerry Freeman asks, if I'm in Massachusetts, will I invite him on a hunt? If I'm in Massachusetts, I hope you invite me on a hunt because I don't know crap about hunting in Massachusetts, man. Shane Eastlake asks, what was my first detector? My first detector was a Garrett Scorpion Gold Stinger. And it was adequate for the time, but by today's standards, kind of a... Earl, what's up, Earl? Earl Newland asks, did you give up on nugget hunting? I see you sold your 7,000. No, Earl, I didn't. But as often as I got to use the 7,000, I didn't find that I was finding more gold with it. I thought that it was too much of a professional level tool for as often as I got out with it. And to be honest with you guys, I found more gold with the SDC 2300 than I did with the 7000. And the 7000's a bear of a detector. There's no way around that. Will it find deeper gold? Yeah. Will it find bigger gold deeper? Yeah. For the type of gold that I'm hunting and as frequently as I get to do it, the SDC is one of my go-to machines. And for that reason, I sold the 7000. And I also acquired this fancy camera with some of that money, and these microphones and these fancy lights and all sorts of new microphones on top of the cameras. So this year, 2017, is going to be freaking epic. I'm going to give you some crispy videos that are just totally legit. It's not going to be 100% GoPro footage anymore. I've even got like 3-way gimbal cameras and stuff. It's gonna be awesome. We've got our own like little production going. Jason Porter wants me to make a video about the resources that I utilize and the methods that I use to research and gain permission, and specifically the researching portion. Well, I kind of tapped on this a little bit before, but the computer, man, just get in that computer. And there's a few websites that I mentioned in my book, shameless plug. I'll post up a couple websites in the description box below. That way you guys can kind of see some of the tools that I'm using online to research with. It's tough. This is a really sensitive subject because, once things are found, you can't re-find them. They're going to be out of the ground forever. So, when you give up those trade secrets on how you're finding your locations and how you're going about researching, inherently everyone else is going to start doing that. And if you're very successful at what you're doing, those people will be too. And then it just becomes a race. Who can get to these sites fastest? And to be honest with you, there's not many of those sites around me. They're very few and far. We don't drive 300 miles to go hunting because we like to get 300 miles away from home. That's because it's the closest 1800 site that hasn't been hit. So there are trade secrets. Am I willing to give you the nudge and kind of push you in the right direction? Absolutely. But you got to put in the work. You got to get the research done yourself. Put in the legwork. Go knocking doors and, go asking people. Talk to the old people at restaurants. I don't want to say old people, but, talk to some people that have grown up in these areas. And, folklore is huge. Folklore doesn't just fall out of the sky randomly. It starts somewhere. There's something in that story that used to be true. Find out what it is and follow that little thread of information. The nice thing about doing it digitally is that you can take this out into the field and all of your info is with you all the time. Johnny, Redman, what's up, buddy? John wants to know what my 5-year plan is. What's next for Dr. Tones? I don't know, man. I'm living right now. Red Dirt Digger. I am just loving life by the minute and just kind of taking opportunities as they come. I have the foresight of Mr. Magoo, and I don't know what's coming up. Do I have plans? Yes. My plan is to work hard, be ambitious, outwork other people. You're going to see more videos more frequently from me, and we're just going to grow this channel. And the only way to do that is to put in the work. And if you're wondering, if you're a YouTube video maker and you're wondering why your detecting channel isn't taking off or why you're not getting views and subscribers, I can tell you that persistence, quality content is huge. You got to have quality content. Even if you're not finding anything, just deliver it in something that's pleasurable to watch, whether that's funny or visually stunning. Use whatever you're more comfortable with and highlight that in your videos. And be consistent about putting out your content. I'm one of the worst about this currently, especially now that we've got 10 feet of snow on the ground. I haven't posted a video in like 3 months. But be consistent. Pick a day of the week and say, I'm gonna release a video every Wednesday at 5, and your subscribers will come back for that. Even better yet, if you want to double your views, put out double the content. It's a simple formula. You just have to work. Included now, though, in my 5-year plan, one of the things that I just started is vlogging on a new channel of mine called Before I Die. And I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And that's just basically what I'm doing day to day. And I'm using that as a platform to improve my camera skills and my editing and basically my storytelling. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to tell a story through each video that I make. And the more frequently I do it, the better I'm going to get. So if you want to see my day to day, check out the Before I Die stuff. Samantha Jackson, what do we got to see here? Samantha says she's new to detecting and she wants to know if I dig trash or if it's just her. Samantha, everyone digs trash, I promise you. I dig so much trash. If I could start my own recycling business. Just straight up, I could probably make more money with the scrap metal that I would have recycled than all of my finds put together. There's just so much garbage out there, and you really don't know what you're going to find until those targets come out of the ground. So it's not something you're doing wrong. Everybody digs trash. If they tell you that they're not digging trash, don't listen to anything else that they have to tell you. Just walk away from that. And walk away smiling, by the way. Stay patient. That is like the biggest thing. Stay patient. Don't get discouraged. Learn your machine. John Raptosh. This is Johnny Utah, by the way. Rumor is that Pighead and Johnny Utah find most of the targets and you film them as your own. Is that true? Also, is Johnny Utah's beard all natural or do you Photoshop it? Yes, it's true. They find everything and then I grab it when they're not looking and I pretend to dig it up. And also, yes, I do Photoshop that glorious, glorious man beard of his. He's super proud of it. Like, almost to an extent that I'm worried about him. He talks about it all the time. Bob Horst asks, are you in fact as sexy as Brad Johns? To Bob, I say no, I'm not. Unfortunately, I was born with this, and Brad got the luck of the draw on that one. If you're not familiar with Brad Johns, you guys go to his Facebook page, and he does YouTube videos. He's a digger, first of all, but he started his own channel and he goes around these thrift stores and he basically buys like these big jugs and vases full of just random crap, and he'll buy one for $5, dump it out at home and sort through it, and there's like silver and like pearl necklaces and like all sorts of antiques that he's really familiar with. It's super interesting to watch. Go check out Brad John's channel. Maybe someone will post a link. I'm sorry I don't have it on me right now, but go check out his channel. It's a really cool watch, and I'm addicted to that channel. So thank you, Brad. Keep putting out that awesome content. JP Daigle, oldest silver found in North America. Let's see, what is my oldest silver? Stand by. That little guy. Bill Hallman, Brandon, I've really enjoyed the info in the Bible. How much research goes into locating those isolated spots where no one has been since it was abandoned? A lot. It's getting harder and harder to find those spots too. And the reason why we're doing off-the-grid treasure hunting is because there's nothing left that hasn't been hit. So that's why we focus where we focus, and the places that are going to be hardest to get to are always going to be the ones that have the least likely possibility that have been hit before. So the harder the site is to get to, the better. But it's also usually beautiful, so that doesn't hurt. Oldest coin that I've dug in the West. This comes from Shane Godfrey, by the way. What's the oldest coin that I've dug in the West, and what state was I in? Yes, now I remember. I have it sitting right in front of me because I saw this question a couple days ago and I pulled this coin because of this question. A few years back, I was detecting at a house in downtown Boise, and it was a demo. It had just been demolished. There was garbage everywhere. It was right after I got the CTX. And I had no clue what I was doing with the CTX. I was on a stock coin program, listening for high tones and cherry picking, and I kept digging these large pieces of lead that when the dozer pushed this place over, man, it just pushed it over and just spread it out and kind of tried to bury it. And there was just garbage everywhere. And I spent like 5 minutes digging pieces of lead and tin roof and all sorts of garbage, doorknobs. I think I pulled a doorknob out of there. And I was about to snap that new $2,300 machine around a tree. And I got a high tone, bent over, dug it up, and this is what I saw. And at first glance, what I thought it was to me, it looked like an electrical box conduit knockout is what it looked like to me. Like when you install a light switch, on the back of the light switch box, it's a little aluminum box, and it's got these little punch outs that you knock out and you run your wires through them and stuff like that. I thought that was one of those. And right about the time I went to go like this, I thought, you know what? Maybe I ought to wipe that off a little bit better and take a little closer look. So I go like this. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh man, that's, I think I see like 1 cent and like a little wreath. And I was like, man, I've never held a large cent at this point, mind you. I think this is a large cent, but I'm not sure. And I clean it up a little bit more, and I call Dirt Diggler on the phone. I say, yo, Eric, hey, because he lives like right around the corner from this place. I'm like, hey, I'm downtown. I'm in your neck of the woods testing out the CTX. About what size is a large cent? Do you know? And he's like, I don't know. It's been a long time since I held one. I think it's a little bit bigger than a quarter, but smaller than a $50. I'm like, yeah, that's it. What are they made of? And he's like, they're copper. Yeah, that kind of looks coppery, but it's really kind of corroded. And I'm like, man, I think I got a large cent. And he goes, no, you don't. And he's like, you know how many people have found a large cent in Idaho? And at this point, I think the count was 3 or 4. And they were all in like the 1850s, 1840s maybe. And so I take it over to his house and we start cleaning it up carefully, because I don't know what it is, but, you know, washing some dirt off of it and stuff. And I see a profile, and we're going through the red book at the time, and I'm like, man, the profile's facing the wrong way. And it's got this little wreath with like a fraction. It looks like it's 100 over 1. And it says 1 cent, though. I can see that clearly. And it turns out that I'd found a drape bust large cent, a 1798 to be specific. And it took some research to figure out what year that was, but we did some electrolysis on it and finally could see a date. So, needless to say, that is definitely my oldest coin in the West. 1798 drape bust large cent. To put things in perspective, the state of Idaho did not become a state until, I believe, 1891. Before that, it was like some serious Lewis and Clark shit out there. The fact that that was floating around is pretty cool. You never know what you're going to find. I'm spending too much time on your questions. I'm sorry. I like to talk. Frank. D.A. Frank. Which gas station sushi is the best? None. None gas station sushi is the best. Awful, awful story. Good day. Awful, awful morning. John DeVille wants to know what's on the top of my U.S. bucket list right now. Top of my U.S. bucket list, gold coin. U.S. gold coin, top of the list. 2017, you're going to see me pushing really, really hard to achieve that. I think that the Off the Grid series is going to be renamed Off the Grid Gold. And every episode that you will see will be gold related. I just made that up. That's not true. But it would be fun. Maybe we should do that. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Nathan Dunn wants to know how I became known as Dr.Tones. This is a really fun story. When I started getting into metal detecting more seriously and inquiring about, the specifics behind what machine I wanted to purchase and things like that, I got onto a forum. And when you register for these forums, you have to have a username. And I noticed that all the users at the time had like really punny usernames, So I am a huge Indiana Jones fan. And I wanted something that was, the pun would revolve around metal detecting mixed with Indiana Jones. Dr.Tones. I typed that in as my username, and from then on I was known as Dr.Tones. That's, when I started posting videos and things like that, I posted it under the alias Dr.Tones because I don't want people... At the time, there was a problem out west, especially in the prospecting field, people following other people around and trying to poach their sites. And I know a couple people in particular that had problems with people following them because they knew their real name and where their address was. They'd park out in front of their house and wait for them to leave. They'd follow them around until they ended up at the gold site, and then when they were gone, they'd poach the site. I didn't want that to happen. Obviously I'm kind of concerned about my family, and when you start finding things that are worth money, people start knocking on your door and showing up unexpectedly, and I didn't want any of that. Fortunately, it didn't last too long, but the name Dr.Tones stuck. I wished I was from Indiana because I would have been Indiana Tones. That would have been cool. Oh, Bill Lemke. He's asking a golden question. There's got the Michael Jackson eating popcorn here. I'll show you. I love that meme. I love that. It's actually a GIF. I love that GIF. Why the Mind Lab machine versus an AT Pro or other high-end machine? Simple fact of the matter is, when I was on the market for a new detector, I had a pretty substantial budget because I had just sold my gold dredge. We were having a lot of problems in Idaho at the time with the EPA wanting to discontinue dredging, and I wanted to offload that dredge before it was made illegal and I couldn't sell it. So I sold my dredge and I decided to get into metal detecting instead. So I looked around at metal detectors at the time, and up to this point I had only detected for gold. I had never done coin and relic type stuff before, and I wanted to start staying closer to home, and so I thought, you know what, maybe I'll get into the coin and relic thing and just putt around town and try and dig up some silver coins. And so I started looking at detectors that were the best for that. Things that were waterproof, things that had good trash separation, things that were wireless. That was important to me. And at the time, the CTX was the only one on the market that met all those qualifications. Another reason why I really like the CTX is that it's a multi-frequency detector. It analyzes, like 20 some odd frequencies from like 2 kilohertz to 100 kilohertz constantly. So where that comes into play is, the lower the kilohertz, the deeper in the ground that it goes, and the more responsive it is to certain targets like silver and other high conducting materials. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got your low conductors like gold, which typically is going to be small, so you need high frequencies to get a hold of that type of stuff. And this one just covered all those bases too. The downside with the CTX, though, is that it's heavy and it's a little bit sluggish compared to things like the Deus or the AT Pro. You can go whipping those things around and cover some serious ground. The machine being slow is actually what helps you, because when you're in areas that are as trashy as the areas out here in the West, you have to slow down. There are machines that are built for certain applications, and there are machines that are built for specific applications. There's no one machine that covers all the bases. So for my environment, my hunting style, the CTX was the one that was the most qualified, and so it was the breadwinner. It got it. And that's the simple reason behind it. Honestly, it was the best tool for the job that I needed to work in. Okay? Is that okay? I'm having a hard time talking today. I feel like I have too many teeth. Like I grew too many teeth all of a sudden. Derek Ridlin, will I attempt to run a marathon? Let's qualify for Boston. One day, yes. Right now, I would love to run a marathon someday. I'm going to work towards it. Brian Barnes wants to know how to go about cleaning coins that you find. Don't. That is my simple advice. Especially if you think that it's going to be something that's a key date or is worth any amount of money. Don't clean it. Just leave it to the professionals. Grade it as is. Do not touch it. If you absolutely must, and you don't think the coin is going to be worth anything, there are different techniques to clean different coins. Without getting into that, this could be like a whole main takeaway from this, though, is just don't touch them. Reese Burnett wants to know what video editing software I use. I use a 2015 MacBook Pro running Final Cut Pro 10. There's probably better editing software out there, but I refuse to learn it because that takes a lot of time sometimes. And I feel like I'm just now getting a hold of this. That being said, you can edit on any platform. You can edit on your phone if you want. iMovie on your phone is a great little application to help you quickly throw something together. So it's not so much what you're using, but the vision that you're trying to put together. Have that storyline already put together up here before you start trying to do it on the computer, and you'll be worlds ahead of the game. Rich Nesbitt wants to know, how do I get away with being gone so long and staying a super dad and super husband? Honest to goodness, I try and spend as much family time as I can with them during the weekdays, and when I'm off work, I have a healthy work-life balance. And believe it or not, lately I've been considering the video making and detecting work, so that has to be calculated into that equation. It's tough. It's tough to balance that and time management. Like, what's your 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. look like? What's your 9 p.m. to midnight or 1 a.m., 2 a.m. look like? That's where you're fitting in your work, your editing, everything else. And then family time is in the middle of that. Dave Weiss wants to know if I've ever dug a potato because I live in Idaho. No, Dave, I've never dug a potato. In fact, there's only a very small portion of southeast Idaho that even grows potatoes. The rest of the state mostly is like corn and mint, believe it or not. Sugar beets, we grow a ton of sugar beets. I almost said something else. Leo Aranza, what's up, buddy? When am I coming to Vegas? Man, me and Vegas have a love-hate relationship, that place. Probably going to be a while. Wayne Rivas, what's the best story of being kicked off or asked to leave a property? So, fall of 2015, I was doing some door knocking in downtown Caldwell, and it's not the greatest neighborhood, and it's old though, so you never know what you're going to find. And I go up and I knock on the door, and I'm like, hey, my name's Brandon. I like to detect. I think your yard might hold some cool stuff in it. What do you say about letting me have a half an hour, show you what I come up with? And the guy didn't speak very good English. He was actually some sort of European immigrant. And I don't think he fully understood what I was asking, but he said yes anyway. And I went out there and started detecting, and the second I sunk my spade into his lawn, he lost it and came out in his underwear and chased me off and down the street. I literally used the CTX as a defensible weapon at one point. I don't know what he was saying, but he was angry. Red Dirt Digger, Johnny, wants to know, again, let's see. If I could have dinner with 3 people from any time in history, who would it be? That's a tough question, man. Whoa, sun's coming out. I would have dinner with my Grandpa Gary, my Grandma Peg, and probably my Great-Grandpa George. Forrest Stinnett, let's see. Who would you like to hunt with and where? I think I'd probably want to hunt somewhere in the South because I haven't been there. And I would probably want to hunt with someone who knew the South very well. Yeah. Kimmy Price wants to know if I could design a detector, what kind of technology would it have? Aside from, things that aren't feasible, like X-ray technology and stuff like that. I actually have talked to a couple manufacturers about some ideas that I've had that I can't release just yet. So, we're going to stay away from that one. Let's just say that it's going to be awesome. If it comes into fruition, everyone's going to want one. And it's very, very, very practical. It's easy stuff that for some reason has been overlooked. I don't know why. It's going to be awesome though. Lane Prater wants to know if I let people just randomly hunt with me. No, not really. If I didn't grow up with them and I'm not like, buddy with them, I gotta feel people out. I gotta feel people out a lot. If it's in your neck of the woods and you want to do a meetup, heck yeah, give me a buzz. I'll meet up with you. We'll go out and we'll hunt. But if it's in my neck of the woods, because this is my area, and everyone's kind of a little bit touchy when it comes to who hunts where, and I've got guys here in my area. They're like, "Oh, you got to stay in your county." Well, no, you don't have to stay in your county. Don't let anyone tell you have to stay anywhere. And if they claim that, you ask them, you point this big finger in their fat face and you ask them if they've ever gone hunting or fishing outside of their county, if they've ever bought a hunting tag somewhere else, if they'd consider going Colorado and shooting a buck or something. Don't listen to any of that crap. You don't have to stay in your own county. Go wherever you want. It's a free country. Tearing through it here. Whew. It's going to be a long video. I hope you guys are in for it. Tara K wants to know, when I'm negotiating with landowners, how do we decide? Thanks. Look at that. I'll keep her. These are delicious, by the way. You should try one of those. Tara K, when I'm negotiating with a landowner and we're trying to decide who gets to keep what and the terms and conditions, I basically don't get into it with them. Realistically, not many things that we dig are worth money. A good amount of money worth being upset about. When I'm negotiating with landowners and they start getting into the specifics like 50-50 this or percentages this and that, and they want things in writing, I just walk away. Because those type of people are going to cause problems in the future for you. If you find something that they want, then technically your contract, whatever it is that you wrote up, is probably null and void in the eyes of the law, the actual legal system. So if it ever went to court for something like that, they'd probably end up just keeping whatever you found and you'd never be able to get back on the property. So I avoid people, landowners like that, and I don't try to sell them on anything either. Like, just tell them straight up, most of the stuff we find isn't worth anything. We're purely hobbyists and collectors. And then I offer them, like I said, I'm a coin guy. If you want, whatever other items that I find, go ahead, take them. I'll present them to you at the end of the day. Or another selling point that I do is I say, hey, I've got a spare detector in my truck. I'll show you how to use it, and you can come alongside me and hunt, and we'll find some cool stuff together. And you can keep whatever you want. I keep whatever I find. How's that sound? Melanie Laskowski Johnson, sorry if I slayed that, wants to know if her and her hubby can come metal detecting with me sometime. Where you at? Where you at, Mel? Let's do this. Yeah, sure, why not? Dick Kingston has a two-part question. Wants to know if I've ever had dangerous encounters when we're off the grid, and if we pack heat when we're going off the grid. Absolutely, we pack heat all the time. We've been lucky in that we don't usually run into aggressive two-legged creatures, but the four-legged ones and the ones without legs are a different story altogether. Most of the dangerous encounters that we've had when we're off the grid have been environmental factors, i.e. heat, and or cold. And then there's been some animal incidents like rattlesnakes. A lot of rattlesnakes, scorpions, bears, a lot of bear stuff. Things like that. Wolves lately, a lot of wolves. Wolves are making a comeback. I don't even want to get into that. I carry a Springfield 40, and I also carry a long rifle, a 30-06. So there's that. Any hoosers. Linda Wurst says that she has a cheap little metal detector and she's getting frustrated with it. She wants to know if different tones mean different things. Absolutely they do, Linda. And there's going to be an online manual somewhere where you can look up the specific model and make of your detector and what those tones are telling you. Typically, low tones mean that they're low conductors like nickel or foil, and high tones are going to be reserved for your copper and your silver type stuff. That's typically the way that works, but I encourage you to get online, check out that manual, learn your machine. John Frederick wants to know what inspired me to get online and start uploading videos in the first place. I've always been kind of a creator. I'm a musician. I was a musician long before I started detecting, and I just like to create things, and as it turns out, the recording software that I use to record music is very similar to the software used to edit video, and so I kind of just naturally fell into that and One year I asked my mom for a GoPro for Christmas, and I just started filming stuff and putting videos together. And one day I thought, why don't I just make a video of detecting? That would be fun. And I got online and I saw if people were doing it, and I was like, yeah, there are people doing it. Man, a lot of it's really good for learning. Aesthetically, I don't want to stare at a hole in the ground for 9 minutes. I personally don't want to watch videos where people dig every single target in real time. No one has that amount of time. I want to see cool stuff, cool environments. I want to hear about the adventure. I want a story. That's where I'm coming from A to B. So when I saw that content, I said, you know what? I'm going to do story time. I'm going to show cool stuff, and, yeah, I'll show some garbage, but I'm not going to do 8 minutes staring at a hole. I'm going to be different. I'm going to be a purple cow. That's my philosophy. Roberto Grog wants to know approximately how much my England trip cost. To that, I would say, Roberto, you could skim by on probably right around $2,500, $2,800. But if you want to have a good time, bring 45 or 5. Cody Sutton wants to know, other than some Anglo-Saxon stuff. Ooh, let me show that one off. This is one of my favorites. We'll do show and tell. Why not? Little Norman mount / brooch action. Might be Saxon. Jury's still out. Aside from that stuff, what was my most expensive find? We're talking monetary value. Probably that O1S that I keep talking about. I'll never find another one. I get to keep talking about it. Don't judge me. Cami Larson wants to know, what kind of locations do we have the best luck at? Well, that kind of depends on what you're after. I will tell you right up front, off the grid locations suck for coins. They are the worst locations you could possibly go to for coins. Relics, yeah, you're going to find some like suspender clasps and maybe a few buttons and odds and ends, things like that. But man, those people out in the middle of nowhere on the western frontier had zero money to spend and or lose. If they had it, they hung on to it. So not very, like 1 out of 10 places that we go to actually has coins. But we get to see these places that have been gone and just like on their own, existing with no one around them until we came. And that is the true find. That is the gem. If you're after coins, go knocking on doors. Go to your downtown old areas and just start beating on doors. Someone's going to say yes. If you're after silver coins specifically, try to look for those houses that are like right around the 40s, early 40s, mid 40s. And the reason is because that wartime silver, man, we had money flowing when those guys came back after the war, like the mid 40 era. And, all the kids were getting dimes to go buy ice cream with and stuff like that. So there was a lot of money, a lot of silver exchange, and a lot of silver lost. Front lawns, particularly corner lots. Corner lots are great because kids like to play on them. They kind of congregate on the corners, bus stops, etc. So old houses on corner lots. That's the key to success if you're after just easy coinage, knocking on doors, man. I'm not really into that. Every now and then I get a wild hair and I'll go do that again, but I'm really into the thrill of the hunt and just finding these weird random locations in the middle of nowhere. I kind of get my jollies off on that kind of thing. Becky Hubble Peterson wants to know if I found many Chinese artifacts, Gold Rush era mainly, coins, pottery, etc. Yes, and yes. Lots of Chinese stuff. I find more Chinese coins than I do American coins, especially in the Gold Rush affiliated areas. And it's really cool because that's like some of the older stuff that you'll find in the West. Going back to the draped bust, I totally even just spaced the Chinese stuff. The oldest stuff that you're going to find in the West is going to be those Chinese coins probably, because those are ones that they brought over here with them, and they're like from the Qianlong dynasty, like the 1730s up to the early 1800s or whatever that time frame was. So yeah, there's 1700s out west. It's going to be Chinese. Videos are always of great quality. Thanks, Rusty I use a GoPro mostly. They're durable. They they don't mind getting dirty. You're going to see a lot more different stuff. I'm going to be shooting this year on a Canon 70D and also a DJI 3-axis gimbal. It's called the Osmo Plus. It's going to be an awesome camera for filming with, but still the meat and potatoes is going to be a lot of GoPro stuff. We're going to change it up and get out of that fisheye look though, because it's really hard for me to watch a whole video on a GoPro. Just, it's not aesthetically pleasing. There's no depth of field. The colors are good, but other than that, they're tough. I like them because they're tough. Dirk Ayala, I'm sorry, wants to know if I've used the Racer. I haven't personally used the Racer, but I hear good things. It has some sort of affiliation with the guys over at Deus, and that is one fast machine. So if it's anything like the Deus, it's going to be a great machine for you, dude. Matt Moran wants to know what some of my favorite things to find are. Coins, for sure. But also, I really have been getting into the military type Western frontier stuff. You know, military camps and forts and things like that. That is something that I really, really enjoy hunting for. In fact, I found this really cool old metal shoulder plate, and the cavalry guys used to wear these on their shoulders. They had, like, you know, some other scales and some dangly stuff that they'd wear on their uniforms. That actually protected them, their armor. It's like aluminum, I don't know, tin, whatever. It's metal, okay? I don't know what it's made of. They used to wear it on their shoulders, and the reason why they were issued that stuff is because they were the only ones that actively engaged in sword fight. They were issued sabers. So the cavalry guys all wore that. This particular one, though, has the gentleman's last name carved into it. Cole, C-O-L-E. And I did some research on this one. He was with Oregon Volunteer Cavalry in the 1860s, and it's one of my favorite finds. I'm currently researching more to see if he has any living people in the area that might appreciate owning that. Other than that, I like coins. I like old coins. Jack Funk wants to know where I'm selling my coins. With the exception of the auction that I used, the hell's the name of that site? Great Collections. I sold my main, the O1S on Great Collections. It's a online auction house. It's really reasonable fees, and they do all the legwork for you. It worked out great. Highly recommend it. Other than that, eBay. What's the best detection device for a beginner? Asks Laura Dion Thomas. Laura, that's a great question. Totally depends on what you're looking for, where you're looking for it, and your budget. Those three things, there's probably some others that I'm forgetting about, but those are like the key elements to finding what machine is going to work best for you. So do some thinking on that, and then email me. I'm going to leave my email in the description box. So if you have any questions on detectors, if you are in the market to buy a machine, I can hook you up with a stellar price, just saying. I'm going to leave my email in the description. Hit me up, let me know what you're looking for. We'll have a discussion, and we'll find out what is going to fit not only your budget, but your application. I can't stress the application enough. Like, a lot of people just go straight for like the CTX or whatever. There are other machines out there that are going to be better for your environment depending on what you're hunting for and where you're hunting for it. So let's talk. Give me an email, and we'll get you situated. That's it. I'm out of questions. We did this. Just a shade under a decade. Thanks again so much, you guys, for the awesome response. I had no idea that I would be answering 50 plus questions today. You guys rock. Sorry again, it's been so long since we've put out a video. I promise as soon as that stupid snow melts out there, we're going to get out and do some digging, find some cool stuff, take you some cool adventures. Please, please, please don't forget to share this video with your friends, hit the like button, and also subscribe if you haven't. Thanks, take care. Dirt Fishing America, out.